You're listening to the Chic Code Podcast with Wirda Alisa and Sophia Arisa. All things chic, candid, and comedy. Hey girlies, welcome back to another episode of the Chic Code Podcast. And this episode, we'd like to take a moment to introduce the Muslimin Trust Fund Association, or MTFA, the oldest Muslim charitable organization dedicated to uplifting lives through trust, compassion, and continuous support.
Under MTFA are several key initiatives that focus on real, on-the-ground impact. These include Darul Ihsan Orphanages, which provide care and stability for our youth and children in need. Ihsan Kidney Care, which supports patients and families navigating long-term dialysis treatment. And Ihsan Aid, which delivers financial assistance to communities in need.
Yes, and this initiative reflects MTFA's commitment to serving with ihsan, excellence, care and responsibility. So dalam bulan Ramadan ni guys, panjangkanlah tangan tu untuk klik on the QR code.
Yes.
Bukannya
Bukannya susah setakat kau ambil gambar je.
Cakap sikit je kau tangan kau scan the QR code.
Betul.
Pahala berkali-kali ganda, insyaAllah.
Betul. Ini bukan zaman lama yang kau kena pergi ke yang tempat tabung tu kau masukkan. Tak payah.
Tak payah. Sekarang kau semua QR.
Sekarang handphone kau, aku tahu kau tengah pegang phone kau. Aku tahu kau tengah pegang phone kau.
Screenshot je. Ini video je. Sekarang
It can be as little as $1.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Tapi ramai-ramai. Kita tahu banyak viewers. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
So kita boleh ramai-ramai lah. Tolong donate and tolong give back to the community lah guys.
Yes, okay. And under MTFA, this ada banyak subsidiaries yang akan receive korang punya donations. It's not just the orphanages, dorang ada kidney care, dorang ada Ihsan Aid, ada education juga.
Correct.
And everything. So macam-macam subsidiaries under there. So yalah.
Yeah. So kita mengalu-alukan untuk kalian buat donation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And untuk episod hari ini,
untuk episod hari ini kan, aku nak introduce korang like lelaki yang a walking green flag lah, because kan the moment he entered, kita nampak dia bawa 2 bunga tau.
2 jambak bunga untuk kita.
Macam, oh my god,
so sweet.
Yeah. Sufi, volunteer daripada MTFA.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Sufi, sebelum kita salah step kan Sufi, dah kahwin ke belum?
Belum.
Belum
guys.
kahwin. Ni lelaki green flag ni guys. Satu
korang
ni guys.
nak cari memang susah kan, betul tak? Kita selalu dapat email Saswi tu susah nak dapat lelaki green flag. Macam gini lah, dia sambut bawa bunga. Kau faham
betul.
tak?
2 jambak untuk aku dengan Wida.
Of course.
Satu untuk aku, satu
Adil.
Adil dan sama. Nasib baik bukan Hilmi.
Betul-betul inside joke. So Hilmi is an
imaginary character. Oh, you tahu kan?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so Sufi is a volunteer from MTFA.
Betul.
And dah berapa lama you volunteer dengan MTFA?
I've been a volunteer MTFA for about 1 year already.
Oh, 1 year.
Yeah, so I started off dengan buat fundraiser for Rumah Anak Yatim Darul Ihsan. Yeah, so I get the budak-budak daripada Darul Ihsan to bake cookies together. Lepas tu kita jual kuih-kuih tu sempena untuk Ramadan, Hari Raya lah. Yeah, then subsequently I started a free math tuition program dekat MTFA. Yeah, I started in about July last year. Yeah, so now this year we are looking at expansion lah.
Wow, very nice and thoughtful of you. Ya Allah, may Allah bless you always, Sufi.
InsyaAllah, thank you.
So Sufi, I nak tahu how was your first day like, volunteering at MTFA?
So for myself, I kind of took the unconventional route. So I didn't start off as a volunteer sign up. I started off as an independent individual who just wanted to do something for the Darul Ihsan Orphanage.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think at that point of time, I wanted to kind of macam, especially anak-anak yatim, for myself macam sedih lah, lihat mereka. So I contact MTFA and I asked if there's something that I could do. So Akram Hanif, who's the volunteer manager at that point of time, he proposed doing a fundraiser lah. So that's why I did a fundraiser. Then lepas tu I stayed contacted with MTFA, I stayed contacted with Akram Hanif, and I shared with him my ambitions of running a free math tuition program. Because I've been tutoring on the sides as a part-timer for the past 5 years, and I've always been very adamant tentang pendidikan, especially within our youth and children.
Of course.
Yeah, so that's why I contacted Akram Hanif from MTFA, and then I met Dr. Kadir, who's the CEO of MTFA, and I pitched to him this idea, and Alhamdulillah we managed to run a pilot program last year.
Wow.
Yeah, so this year kita nak expand and hopefully be able to touch more lives.
I see. Okay, I suddenly teringat soalan ni, macam it's not that it just happened overnight that you decide to volunteer at MTFA kan. What was your calling time tu?
I think to be honest, for the longest time I've always wanted to do something along the lines of education.
Okay.
Especially bila lihat the societal norms at the moment, I feel like macam there's something that we could do, and I selalu pegang with the fact that pendidikan sangatlah penting.
Betul.
And dalam Singapura, we have such a great education system, and we sometimes forget that education is a privilege.
Betul.
We take things for granted, right? And especially kalau kita lihat kanak-kanak di negara lain, the third world countries where education is not so accessible.
Betul.
Because it's a pity.
Yeah.
So for myself, I wanted to try to touch the lives of those from the underprivileged background. So I approached MTFA, and to be honest, before I approached MTFA, I approached other organisations as well.
Okay.
But the reason MTFA came to fruition is because CEO mereka, the staff there, they are all very supportive, and they allow me as a youth sebagai belia to run my ideas end to end. Mereka tidak they don't just step in and then tell me do A, do B. They allow me to explore my ideas, and they stand there as advisors. So that's the reason why I decided to just stick with MTFA for a long time.
Wow. Sangat berdedikasi. Sufi for president lah this one.
Nasib anak aku masih kecil. Kalau tak, kau je menantu aku lah.
Kan anak kau masih baby.
Ya, bagus. Ini lelaki yang kita nak.
Berwawasan.
Yes.
Yes. Wow.
Untuk masyarakat.
Betul.
Bukan. Bagus. Aku suka.
Bagus. Okay. So bila tadi we dah tanya kan, you macam your first day of volunteering, right?
Yeah.
Do you think at that moment you macam I'm just gonna like volunteer once and then we'll see how it goes? Ke macam you macam niat very like nekat, orang cakap macam like okay, I'm just gonna continue volunteering at the same organisation.
I think for myself, my view terhadap volunteering is always service oriented. Dan service, is something that have to be long term. So when I approached MTFA, my actual first day being in the building was when I pitch the idea about Bright Guys. That was my actual first day. And what made me know that it's going to be something long term, like I said, was because the sambutan that I get from the people at MTFA. And then again, especially something to do with pendidikan.
Yeah.
It's very hard if it's something that's short term.
Yeah.
So at least for myself, I'm naturally someone who's very ambitious. So I memang nak expand for a long time lah. Cuma we started pilot program, then lepas tu baru InsyaAllah.
Masya Allah.
Yeah.
Very nice to hear about that. Yeah.
Okay, so kita nak tahu like macam behind the scenes lah. Senang ke tak volunteer kan? Kena apa tu? Apa? Kena macam strong.
Dedicated. Oh, strong. Ni hati kena kental.
Hati kena kental. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to ask. So what do people not see about volunteering?
I think volunteering in general kan, kalau kita actually look at masyarakat on its own, what roles do volunteers play? Essentially, I mean, to many they will just think that these are unpaid workers.
Yeah.
Tapi if we really think about it, especially volunteers, they play the role of catalyst dalam our community. Mereka, they are the ones that make the changes for the people who falls through the crack. Within the society. So volunteers in general, they play a huge important role within any society, not just dalam Singapore but in everywhere around the world, because essentially they do things not for monetary purposes.
Yep.
They do things, for most of them, they don't receive honorarium. For example, my tutors at Bright Guides, they don't receive honorarium as well. So I know that setiap volunteer yang decide to join me is because they're really passionate about trying to make a change. And when you're that passionate about trying to make a change, you naturally become dedicated, and that's where I think personally for me, that's where real societal change happens. The role of volunteers are actually quite essential lah, you know, in any community.
Wow, I think he put it so nicely. Kan,
Betul.
pasal macam kita don't honour these volunteers much. Like sometimes kita macam just okay, we just need a volunteer, like
Correct.
a random person to just volunteer. It could also be just a one-time thing.
Correct.
Tapi time tu is where, like, you know, they have meaningful and engaging conversations, right? Like with the people. Yeah, but I want to ask you, like, when you volunteer tu, can it be like emotionally heavy sometimes?
Very, especially for myself, because I founded a free math tuition program with MTFA, and then right now I run as the program director. So alongside that, I have to also juggle my full-time studies. So I think emotionally it can get very draining, and especially because when you start something at the end of the day, because I started on my own, the only person who truly believe in your own vision is yourself.
Yep.
So it becomes very intimidating as well, especially when you start to get involved with the big players in the community, because you know semua orang akan, because I'm a nobody. It's very simple for MTFA to just be like, we don't know you, we don't want to hear your ideas, but the fact that they really hear and they trust, of course, to me, I want to uphold that sense of like expectations that they have. And also for myself, when it comes to education, it's a spectrum. Because dia tak ada macam yes or no, it's a whole range of spectrum. So it's always, every night it's always thinking about, will it work? Yeah. So eventually now Alhamdulillah, now I managed to form my own working committee. So they play a lot of the role of moral support for myself lah, so that I can you know, it becomes a community as a whole. So it's
Very nice.
Yeah, very nice to hear.
Ada tak macam moment-moment that macam you, macam nak cakap
Macam unforgettable moments that really stayed with you.
Yes.
Yeah. You cakap you tengah belajar kan, maybe macam it really affected you sampai you macam termenung, tak belajar.
I think at the start, like I said, before I approached MTFA, I approached every other organisation as well to pitch my idea. So ada juga mereka yang macam yang berkuasa in that sense, who, you know, spoke to me like I'm just a speck of dust. You know, so you start to think that I'm trying to do good for the community, but at the end of the day, they have KPIs to hit. To them, what matters to them, maybe for individual purposes, is their own reputation. So at times, maybe they forgot that I want to do good, and suddenly they just brush away. So I think for me especially, the thing that I had to get used to, macam tebal muka at the start, because you have a lot of rejections, you know. So and then subsequently, like I said, juggling with full-time studies at the same time, it's not easy lah. Especially, I think a lot of students from my course can agree that our course is quite demanding. Yeah, so Alhamdulillah, you know, I always ask myself, what's my conviction lah? What's my niat in doing this? Then I try to stay focused in that. Sometimes I do sway, sometimes I do get emotionally drained. But again, like, what's the purpose of me doing it? Then that kind of sets the route for it.
Ada tak macam cerita macam one of the kids yang really macam
Like
menyentuh
touch
hati
your heart?
kan, when you kasih dorang tuition ke?
Okay, I think especially for, like I said, I ran the pilot program last year, the free tuition program, and not just with students from my free tuition program, not just my students from Bright Guides, but essentially all my students for the past 4 years that I've been teaching. I always get myself emotionally attached with them, because I prioritize their growth. I prioritize nurturing them rather than academic intervention. So kebanyakan bila murid-murid pergi tuition, they always, like, parents or people will always think that they're going to go there and do 100 math questions. But that's not for me. I have students who masuk class, for the first 10 minutes they will do their work. Then the next 10 minutes they start talking to me about what happened in school. They start talking to me about a guy that they have a crush on, a girl that they have a crush on, you know. And then and especially a student from Bragas which really touched my heart is that there was this one particular student di sekolah dia mempunyai macam masalah disiplin little bit. But I didn't know because whenever he approached me, he's always very sopan, very good boy. Lepas tu, when he joined the tuition, and then subsequently, when the tuition ended, so I asked him, what made you come every week?
Yeah.
You know, dah lah jauh, you know.
Yeah.
And then he told me one thing. He said, ever since I joined Bright Guides, that is the first time ever I get affected by my math results. That's the first time ever I actually care about my results. So I start to figure out that when we build the emotional connection with the students, they feel very invested in wanting to. I want to prove to Mr. Sufi that I can do this as well. You know, and not just this particular student. I have many other students as well. Yang terutama sekali, I have one student that I recently found out. I bumped into the parents. I found out that this particular student was diagnosed with ADHD. So the parents wanted to send this particular student to a special needs tuition.
Okay.
But the student insisted to be in my class. You know, and then it started to make me wonder that I think these students, they value those conversations I have with them during tuition. How's your day? You know, how was school? Sometimes they will say, oh, it's very bad and all that. And sometimes they come to tuition because they want to get their mind off somewhere else.
Yeah.
The reason they don't necessarily improve or do well in their academics, it's not because of their academic incompetence. Kebanyakan mereka berpotensi. In fact, mereka lebih pandai dari the tutors. Even for myself, you know, they just need that set of belief system. They just need someone that they can fall back on and feel like, you know what, it's okay. You know, it's okay that today I'm not my 100%. You know, they need someone to be able to tell them that. Kalau tak, it's like 6 days a week, 5 days a week asyik belajar. They get mentally drained.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, these are still premature students, right? They you know, they are still below the age of 16.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think really a lot of these students, especially when parents, they randomly drop me a text and say, Mr. Sufi, thank you so much for today's lesson. My student really changed. I see. I feel like macam, again, it's not that academic excellence that I look for. It's really that development of their character that I feel very touched on lah. Macam I feel like, you know, macam alhamdulillah lah.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I started right?
Yeah.
Betul.
Wow, that's great and very heartwarming to hear lah. Kan, macam tuition, like for them, he started off like a free tuition center for these children. But you still put an emphasis on like the emotional connection. Jadi diorang feel that it's a safe space for them to come to.
Yeah, that is the word lah, safe space. Macam diorang suka attend Mr. Sufi's lessons because diorang macam
kawan.
is kawan.
Right.
Diorang can like pour their emotions.
Yeah, exactly. Like no judgments.
Betul.
Like anything. Macam cakap ada crush lah apa ni semua.
Perangai aku kecil-kecil pun dengan tutor aku. Like aku selalu macam kalau boleh nak macam try not to study, so aku just talk.
Lepas tu dia datang rumah kau ke tak?
Datang rumah aku lah.
Oh, mak kau tak bising?
Mak aku tak tahu apa kat dalam bilik aku. Kak Diana, shout out.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
Okay, so pasal ni kita record dalam bulan Ramadan.
Yes.
This will be aired in bulan Ramadan as well. Kita nak tanya lah, does volunteering feel different during this month of Ramadan for you?
I think I started the fundraiser during bulan Ramadan last year as well. So I think dalam bulan Ramadan, not just for myself, but there are many initiatives out there that they're trying to drive the volunteerism within the community. Jadi lebih meriah lah in that sense for myself, that I can see that someone else is also like starting something out. Someone is also trying to do fundraiser. Then it always feel like macam, let me try to connect with them, tengok where I can learn from them. You know. Then I think dalam bulan Ramadan, I mean, of course we always try ourselves as Muslims to always get closer to Allah. You know. And just to share something that I read dalam during the early macam in the early parts of Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah gives us keistimewaan yang makhluk lain tak ada. Iblis tak ada, malaikat pun tak ada. Dalam manusia there are two keistimewaan, which is our ability to teach and our ability to learn. So at times when I read that, and somewhere in the bulan Ramadan where the emphasis is to please Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala, I start to always try to mirror myself and ask myself that kalau Allah dah beri me this gift that no other makhluk have, why not use it?
Yeah.
Why not use it to impart my knowledge that I have, you know? So dalam let's say like Ramadan is more meriah, meriah in that sense. Yeah, like lebih banyak, the energy is just different lah. It's more like tak ada setan kan, tak tahu lah kan. Yeah, so it's like it's different lah, it's different. Yeah.
Faham.
Jadi selalu kalau kat sana, what's the atmosphere like during iftar? You pernah tak like macam iftar with the kids?
So iftar with the kids is only for the residents at Darul Ihsan Orphanage dekat anak yatim. So for myself, my free tuition program, the subsidiaries or the beneficiaries are Ihsan Aid or Ihsan Education Hub.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a different beneficiary group. But I pernah lah macam teringin nak buka puasa with the kanak-kanak dekat rumah anak yatim.
Yes.
So that's something that I eventually will reach out to my volunteer manager lah to share that maybe my team can come over, mingle with the kids and stuff. I've been there a few times at the rumah anak yatim, the boys home, a lot of times, and I think for myself, I always thought rumah anak yatim is like very like dull, very like macam boring. Tapi whenever I masuk, it's actually very very hearty. It feels like a home. Habis diorang ada macam kantin. Habis dalam kantin tu pula macam makcik-makcik tengah masak. And it's the typical makcik macam like my parents and all that. They are like tengah masak-masak asam pedas and all that. Habis so when in like non-Ramadan days, when I masuk MTFA, I always go and get the teh tarik daripada dia punya kantin apa sih. So the ambience there, I think especially for children, it really fits them lah, Yeah, so insyaAllah maybe one day I can buka puasa with them.
Ajak kita lah, ajak TCC lah. Kan?
Alright, so now let's talk about donations lah. Because since MTFA has a lot of like subsidiaries under them, right? So as someone on the ground, what difference do you think these donations really make?
Okay, for myself, from a free tuition point of view or perspective, donations comes a long way in terms of sustaining the program. So kebanyakan donation, especially for the different subsidiaries under MTFA, it is to sustain something. It's always to sustain something. For example, to sustain their daily cost of living for the anak yatim, and then for us, the tuition programs is to be able to expand to different locations in Singapore. And then of course there are certain budget, for example macam books and all that we have to purchase. So I think from my NTFA sense, it's really the donations really plays a huge role, because at the end of the day they are a non-profit organisation. They don't do profit. So kebanyakan of their expenses really stems kebanyakan from donations lah. So without donations, I do not know what the day-to-day like is like from MTFA, but I will say maybe it will be very difficult kot. Tahu lah, So I think it's about sustainability for them.
Like just now you mentioned that this year your goal is to expand your free tuition program, kan? Currently, how many tutors do you have under you?
Currently, so we are still in the process of volunteer recruitment. We just started volunteer recruitment. So at the moment, I think we have about over 12 of them signed up.
Oh, that's nice.
So my target this year is to get 22. Because our tuition program is setiap volunteer will teach a maximum of 2 students. So our working model dekat Praga Guys in terms of tuition is sangatlah berbeza. Because it's a very small group, small group. So especially last year kita baru saja habis pilot program. I do not want to expand blindly. So what I did was I just put a target, 22 volunteers, and then try to impact at most 45 students lah. Then whatever comes after that, then
Wow, that's amazing.
Sufi, I boleh shout out kan? Untuk kepada siapa-siapa yang pandai kat luar sana kan, kalau you nak volunteer jadi tutor under Mr. Sufi kan, give back lah to the community. You can sign up kat mana, Cik Sufi?
Sign up dekat I think there's a volunteer form dekat MTFA punya website. They can do that.
Yes, kan?
So please reach out lah, kan? Because I'm actually quite shocked. Usually macam free tuition, we always see maybe one tutor with a lot of children in a big class. But this one, teacher-child ratio pun dia still mengiktiberatkan emphasize lah on the teacher-child ratio. So it becomes more efficient lah, kan?
That's very nice. Especially for us to get bright guys, at least from what I see on the ground, tak nak murid-murid datang and feel like it's another school day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then especially for myself, like I say, for the past few years when I've been tutoring privately, it's always in a very small group, kebanyakan 1 or 2 students.
Of course.
And that's where students feel comfortable to break the ice.
Yes.
And then, because for us, our Bright Guides tuition yang berbeza daripada tuition lain is because we implement a 2-stage program.
Okay.
Yang pertama is to build rapport through academic support. Maksudnya untuk membina hubungan through tuition. I teach you maths, slowly, naturally the icebreaker will break.
Yeah.
Lepas icebreaker dah break, when students get comfortable, that's where the second stage come in, which is mentorship driven approach. Kita start to think about macam kalau murid-murid, for example, they are underage smokers. How do we slowly tell them that, hey, look, you can't be doing this.
Yeah.
So for that to happen in the first place is in the first stage is to build hubungan lah. For example, the both of you, if let's rewind back to the days that both of you are 15 years old,
Okay.
secondary 3, you know. Habis lepas tu sekarang you tak kenal I, and I do not know who you are. Lepas tu I come inside your class and then I say smoking is bad. For example, exactly, right? Macam who are you? You know, for example. So for us especially with the murid-murid, we try to have a different approach. Instead of scolding or reprimanding, we try to have the approach of, hey, I'm your friend, you're my friend, and I want you to do well as well. Yeah. And then usually kebanyakan murid-murid, when they look up to you, they want to impress you. They try to stop these things, you know.
Yeah.
But we just to add in to the penonton.
Yes.
Like you don't have to be academically inclined to teach. Because like I say, for us, walaupun it's a math tuition program, our priority is not academic excellence. Pasal kebanyakan murid-murid ni, they already have very strong academic capabilities. Mereka boleh buat maths already. Kebanyakan like first lesson, because I have a litmus tau, after a few years of teaching, I know that certain questions kalau murid ni boleh buat, maksudnya foundation mereka sangatlah kuat. So bila foundation mereka kuat, the reason why they don't do well in school is because there is this term called math anxiety.
Maybe I have.
Macam you guys pernah tak macam tengah buat exam, and then after that like 1+1, you guys will type in calculator 1+1 to make sure it's 2. I don't know if both of you have ever faced that before.
Me lah.
Yeah, exactly. So for us, aside from math anxiety, there are also other factors that are affecting their. It's usually the self-belief, the self-confidence yang murid-murid ada. Yeah. So for us, we try to. Yang paling penting is to have a volunteer or a tutor that is able to make them feel that they are not stupid. That's the number one thing, you know. Try to make them feel, try to uplift them. Even kalau diorang salah, even if it's the most simplest question, if you hype them up, macam you hype them up, they will feel like macam, actually aku boleh buat maths, actually very senang, you know, that kind of thing.
Yes, correct.
So that's our main approach, especially for tutors lah.
Betul. Macam to build their self-esteem lah kan.
Of course. Yeah.
Kalau macam mak bapak aja kan, mak bapak aku 1 + 1 3 kau faham macam ni kau
Paper basah.
Paper basah nak.
Paper basah.
Ingus-ingus semua.
You tak ajar macam gitu tak kisah. Mr. Sufi bagus, baik orangnya.
Yeah. Alright. So kalau macam for example tadi kita berbual pasal donation kan, if funding is tight lah, who gets affected first or what gets affected first?
I think from an MTFA standpoint, the ones that get affected most is I would say the largest subsidiary. I'm not sure which, but I will presume is the Rumah Anak Yatim lah. Yeah, I'm not so sure in terms of MTFA punya point of view which one gets affected the most.
Okay. I see. Alright. So moving on to the next segment lah.
Mr. Sufi. So how has volunteering changed you as a person?
I think volunteering in general, especially for my project or my role, kena lebih tebal muka lah. Like because at least for myself, I have like I say a team or working committee. I've always been against digital footprint. I don't want to be in the digital world. Tapi now that my
termasuk lah the digital
yeah. So macam my team, they paksa me to start a TikTok. Like last week I baru je buka TikTok. You know that kind of thing. Like
lelaki yang bagus. Susah tau nak dapat lelaki yang tak ada social media.
Betul. Tak ada digital footprint. Dia bukan mysterious.
Ini
ini
ciri-ciri contoh yang kita ada. Okay.
Just for myself lah. So that's why I mean my team, like they keep pushing me. It's good, especially as I think as a founder, I have to get myself out there, meet more people. So I used to be a slight introvert as well. Tapi I think especially when you do such projects, you have to approach people who probably don't even recognize you randomly. You know, dekat sekolah banyak kali I approach people that I do not know, habis macam share with them about my free tuition program. Yeah, but alhamdulillah nasib baik dekat sekolah, the students are more they really give a listen about it lah. So that's very nice. Yeah. So at least for my macam deputy program director Hana as well, I don't even know her before this. Yeah, she started off as a volunteer, then lepas tu now, you know, we built a team lah of
Nice, Masya Allah.
Dia dah boleh buat TikTok macam ni sebadang. Tuition
yes.
center. Have you watched? No. Okay.
Because he baru masuk TikTok.
Oh, baru masuk TikTok. Okay, never mind. Later we will share.
Correct. Tapi dengan TikTok kan, Sufi, you jangan nak tengok all the nonsense kind. You kena jaga FYP algorithm you, betul tak?
Betul. You kena jaga Hana, you jagakan FYP algorithm dia.
Jangan tertiba nampak perempuan gila-gila.
Itu kalau dia macam stay lama sikit, dia akan keluar.
Right now I've been using TikTok a bit now. My
First
FYP
time ke?
tak
Okay,
macam
oh,
like, I've been using
okay.
macam Siza download tu pakai a bit. So my FYP kebanyakan orang makan.
Boleh okay.
foodie
Because belum puasa kan, maybe lah.
Oh,
macam,
bagus. Bagus,
you know.
safe.
Still safe.
Jaga-jaga Cik Salma. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, how has it changed how you look at your own blessings?
Yes, I think especially for myself, alhamdulillah, Allah blessed me with the ability of to excel academically. I think especially in school. So I have a professor who I really trust, dekat NTU, that I always speak to. And every conversation always struck me with learning takeaways. And one of it was actually, I asked myself, kalau Allah dah kurniakan my ability to study well, there must be a reason for it. It cannot be like you study well and then for yourself, lepas tu you get to work what you want to work, lepas tu blah blah blah, it's always for yourself. It's not. I don't think that's my purpose in life, you know.
Wow.
So especially after I started the free tuition program, every day, macam every Sunday I would travel from Marsiling all the way to Eunos. It's like a 1.5 hour ride every day, every week. So and then I feel macam my hati feels very fulfilled. I feel very happy. You know, for once I feel like macam I think this is my life calling. I think this is my life purpose, for example. Yeah. So in terms of again macam, and my mum is always she always reminds me that macam kita tak perlu tunggu kaya nak tolong.
Betul
So
sangat.
whatever you have to do it. So for myself, again, I've always been passionate about education. I ask myself, if Allah already blessed myself with the ability to maybe teach relatively well and to understand certain topics better, why not impart my knowledge lah, you know. Yeah.
Masya
that's
Allah.
Masya Allah.
Wow, that's really admirable lah. Kan,
yes,
dia
correct.
macam sama konsep macam rezeki juga. Allah kasih kita rezeki, monetary form. Dalam rezeki kita ada rezeki orang lain.
Yes.
Tapi for him, it's like, you know, Allah impart him this knowledge, the ability to absorb knowledge very well.
Yes.
Tapi dia macam, okay, aku should give back to the community.
Yeah, correct. Macam dia cakap, why would God give me this knowledge? Macam like, mesti it's for something bigger.
Masya Allah.
Green flag.
Walking green flag. Thank you so much lah, Sufi, for sharing.
Malu-malu,
Dia malu,
Sufi.
kesian kita kacau dia.
Yes. Sufi, kita nak tahu, mesti yang penonton-penonton nak tahu, Sufi, how old Sufi?
I'm 24 this year.
Masya Allah.
Yang tersipu-sipu malu kat luar sana tengah mendengar. Volunteer dulu. Volunteer dulu.
By the way, just to add on about the volunteers, if you feel like you don't have macam you need a math revision, or macam you forget some math topics because you graduated so long ago, but you want to teach, and you have passion for teaching, for myself, I always tell my tutors, if they need help in math, I will gladly teach them.
Wow.
Yeah, like conduct, macam just teach them certain topics. I'm more than fine with it lah.
Refresher course lah.
Refresher course, yeah.
Kena lah.
Are you good? You're good, right? In math, you will express student. You should join as volunteer.
I love maths.
Yes.
Ya, insyaAllah.
Yes, insyaAllah. Aku boleh ajar
Boleh. X tolak Y boleh. Find X pun boleh.
Hey. Nak find X.
Tak nak baby ada jauh-jauh X. Okay. So last question for you lah, Sufi, before we wrap it up. If you could say one thing to someone watching this during Ramadan, what would it be?
Yes, correct.
I think like just to touch on just now the my ability to excel academically it's a gift from Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. And I think one of the reason that came to my consensus of like kenapa like why Allah give me this ability with, like macam what's my purpose. It's essentially one thing that we have to remember is that setiap benda yang Allah beri ataupun ambil is a test. Whatever that you have, whatever that Allah gives you, it's a test on its own. So something that especially dalam bulan Ramadan, it's good that we always try to renung. We do a lot of self-reflection.
Yeah, right.
And banyak-banyak renung and really ask yourself, what is it that you have that Allah has given you that you can try to multiply it in the community. You know, and I know even for myself, I always tell myself, actually macam aku tak kaya, takkan aku macam nak tolong tak kaya. But again, something that my mother always tell me, tak perlu tunggu kaya nak tolong. And just to share, my late father as well, he was a man who had nothing, but he always give everything. Macam my friends who came over the house, and I have a big family, so masakan yang lauk for that day is just nice for the family. But when my friends come over, macam lepas solat Jumaat, come over to the house, my father will paksa mereka, he will like paksa them to eat, you know. So and then again, I think it's really seeing my late father being such a person who just likes to help when he has nothing at all, makes me macam more driven to like, I think I want to be somebody like that. I think all of us should strive to become somebody like that. Yeah, and I think the more people that strive to become someone who loves to help, I think it builds an ecosystem yang sangatlah penting. Ecosystem yang semua orang get to benefit. And especially now when we see what's happening in the world, when we see our brothers and sisters that are in Palestine, we see the wars in Middle East, the corruption all over the world. I think there are too many powerful and bad people. I think we need more empathetic leaders. I think that's the term.
True.
We need more empathetic leaders. Yeah. So yeah, you should strive to just help in general.
Wow.
MashaAllah.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's actually a very good question to ponder upon this month of Ramadan. Allah give you something, an ability, be it rezeki or something, education ke apa. What can you do that? What can you do with that to give back to the community?
Correct.
Kan, untuk tolong orang lain. Wow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Wah, I enjoyed today's conversation.
Yes.
Macam hubungan ni Presiden.
Wow. Yeah, it was such a pleasure to have you today.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me as well. Thank you so much for having me.
It's our pleasure. So untuk siapa-siapa yang mendengar kat luar sana, ringan-ringankan tangan untuk scan the QR code, because from your donations, programs like Bright Guides can also benefit, and the beneficiaries under MTFA can also benefit from it. And yeah, thank you so much guys for tuning into this episode. This episode is brought to you by MTFA. Semoga baik-baik saja di bulan Ramadan. We see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.